Hey, welcome back to the Ink and Paint Club. I'm Mike, and before I go on, I just wanted to say thanks so much for taking the time to watch my stuff. I understand that my episodes may take away from your time or from whatever important stuff you're working on now. So for you guys to take the time to watch my stuff, it really means a lot to me, and I'm very thankful for it. So, again, thanks so much for that. I really appreciate it. In today's episode, we're going to go over the news that's been happening around the animated block or elsewhere. Well, let's start off the list with Finding Dory, which has made over, I believe, $480 million since this past Labor Day weekend. Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, not only was it this summer's biggest film, but it grossed just as much as Finding Nemo. How's that so? I mean, Finding Nemo made originally, I think, $340 million. So how could I say that Dory made just as much as Nemo? Well, that's because of one word: inflation. What that means is, whatever a film earns now, it will eventually grow in value over the years due to the rise of ticket prices. That's why old films like, let's say, Gone with the Wind are still at the top of the all-time list when their gross is adjusted for inflation. So if we just adjusted Nemo's gross for today, it would mean it would have earned, I don't know, more or less $486 million. So why does that matter? Well, it shows that Dory was able to bring back the same audience that made Nemo such a huge hit back in 2003. Because while the prices for tickets change, the people don't change. So we can tell by inflation if a film was able to bring back as many people as its predecessor could. Now, this is honestly a huge deal because it is rare to find a sequel that can pull that feat off. Oh yeah, we've seen plenty of sequels make more money than the original, of course. I mean, who hasn't? But that's only if we do not take into account inflation, which, if we did, would reveal that the sequel not only earned less than the value of the original, but that the film was not able to bring back as much people as its predecessor could. That's why it's such a big deal, more so than ever, because of the unpopularity of sequels this past summer, as you can imagine. Dory, by contrast, was beloved by all, so cheers to the folks at Pixar for achieving that feat. Another film that made news over this past Labor Day weekend was Suicide Squad, which finally passed the $300 million mark. Hooray. No! Honestly, I'm just disappointed that the film made as much as it did in the end. I figured, because of the bad reviews it received from pretty much everyone, that it would just fall short of that very important threshold. But I was proven wrong, of course. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm biased against the film. I admit it. I was not in favor of the style that they chose for the film. And I just don't feel it earned the amount of money it grossed in the end. And I'm just worried that the profits for the film may be enough to persuade Warner Brothers to stay the course with their DC films, i.e. making them, joyless, in-your-face cynical, no nuance, aggressively unappealing, and no wonder or awe in sight. I'm just hoping that, regardless of the film's achievement, that the studio really takes a hard look at what's wrong with their films. I mean, they need to move away from the overly dark, depressing outlook of their films and bring in a more balanced approach to their stories. Now, does that mean they should copy what Marvel does? No, I mean, they can still strive for a darker and grittier look to their characters, of course. But they really need to borrow a page from Marvel in balancing out the emotions to create stories that reflect both the lighter and darker aspects of the characters and their worlds. I mean, Dave Gibbons, the co-creator of Watchmen, said that himself earlier in the summer when he was talking about the differences between how Marvel and DC approaches their films. Now, if the new leadership of DC Films recognizes this fact, then things, I believe, will turn around for the better. Until then, we shall see. While Dory and Suicide Squad have made loads of money at the box office, the same can't be said for poor Kubo. Kubo and the Two Strings has made only $40 million since it was released a few weeks ago. It's running behind all of Leica's films at this point. I'm honestly shocked that it's been struggling at the box office. I always thought that what was holding Leica back from hitting the mainstream was that all of their past films have been of the same genre. You know, horror. And if you throw in The Corpse Bride, which they were contracted to do for Tim Burton, and you've had 4 films over 9 years playing in the same territory. Not so much with Kubo, which was playing in a different sandbox. I figured it would do better than their recent films and maybe make as much money as Coraline, which remains their biggest film to date. But I was wrong again, and it looks like Kubo would be the studio's lowest grossing film to date. And that worries me because Leica's films, while costing a lot of money, of course, they are inexpensive when you compare them to the much more expensive computer animated films today. And yet, even with the lower budgets, they're still struggling to make a profit. I mean, what more do they have to do? I mean, there are articles already popping up about what the issue is, what the problem is. Animation Scoop has a really good article on this subject. Maybe it's because independent cartoons are just being pushed out by the bigger animated films. Perhaps there's not enough franchising or merchandise involved. Or maybe it's too radical or original for audiences to accept and embrace. I don't know. Probably all of that's true. What I do know is that stop-motion animation is the hardest of all the forms of the medium, and I say this as a traditional animator who studied not just in 2D, but in 3D and stop-motion. Stop-motion animation is, after all, the original form of 3D animation, as well as the oldest technique in the art form. And with CGI dominating the field, studios like Leica are visually and technically trying to push the envelope with their stop-motion films, making it the equivalent of CGI films. So to see them struggle this much is very sad, and I can only hope that things turn around for Leica soon, because at some point, maybe having low budgets might not be enough for them to continue making these films, and we all hope that they continue making these truly kick-ass films. Time for some theme park news, and it looks like Epcot finds itself under the spotlight once more. Rumor has it that the Universe of Energy's days are over. Word around the street is that the ride may be in for a major refurbishment. But not just any rehab, mind you, but a totally new attraction may take its place. Whispers suggest that Guardians of the Galaxy may be coming in for a landing there soon. Now, what do I think of all of this? Well, first off, it's about damn time that Disney finally does something with that ride. I mean, don't get me wrong. The original version, it was well-intentioned and technologically advanced, but it was also one of the most boring attractions at the park, and not to mention outdated with its facts. What about the second version? We all love Ellen. Who doesn't love Ellen? But the ride itself has not been updated since 1996. That's 20 years since then. And while Ellen and Bill Nye the Science Guy, who can forget about him? While both of them have remained as kick-ass as ever, the same can't be said for the ride, as it's not aged well at all. So, there needs to be a serious rethinking about that ride, how to fix it up, and can Guardians of the Galaxy be that approach? I don't know, really. I'm not one of those Disney theme park purists who are out against attractions not based on anything Disney related. I'm actually cool with that. I'm totally fine with that. We've had that since the 80s when George Lucas and Disney first teamed up to do Star Tours. So I'm fine with that so long as it's executed well and it fits within the theming of the park as well. Guardians? Honestly, that was not the first thing that came up in my head. I would have loved to have seen Disney import that kick-ass Tron coaster that's happening over in Shanghai Disneyland right now. That would be really cool to have because not only does the park not have a roller coaster, hard to believe, but they don't have a roller coaster yet, but Tron and Epcot come in hand. I mean, that would be really cool to see. With that said, I do believe Guardians can in fact work in Epcot, so long as it's true to the park's ambitions of entertaining and educating guests at the same time. I feel Guardians can do that in a subversive and quirky way, and it's a out-of-the-box idea that can achieve those two goals in ways that the Universe of Energy couldn't do. Now, whether it's a roller coaster or a simulation ride or some shape or form, I have no idea. So we shall see what form it takes up. I'm curious how that all ends up in the end. But the biggest obstacle in the ride's way is not those things I mentioned, but Universal. Because they have Marvel stuff too. And Disney and Universal are still negotiating Marvel terms over how Disney should use it in their Florida parks. So we shall see how everything turns up in the end. Until then, stay tuned. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out some of my other work, come check out my Facebook, blog, LinkedIn, and portfolio. Until next time, see you guys later.